Welcome to Marsha's Plate. This is an interview episode where we talk to friends, family, other community members, and anybody else we want to talk to. Hey brother, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey brother, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey, how you been doing? Just checking in today on you.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your girl Diamond, and I'm gonna keep it real. I'm popping my cherry in regards to my history on Marsha's Play and on my YouTube channel. You are actually the first white boy I'd have had on my platform. Period.
You know, it's crazy because I'm just gonna get real. Like, I'm actually half Hispanic.
Word.
I got my genetics from my mom's side. I mix with Cherokee Indian and Hispanic, a little bit of Lebanese, and I'm just white Irish. But like, cause like you should seen pictures when I was a baby. Like, I was a little dark skinned child. Like, I tell you, and like everyone's always like, "Yo, you're so white." I'm like, bro, you should see like my the other half of my family.
You say, I'm still white, but technically this is what's going on in me.
But yeah, definitely, I'm definitely white pigmented for sure. It's I wish I wasn't white. I feel like a lot of white people are like nowadays, like, I wish I wasn't white. Like,
Oh, you think that? I think some of them say it to be, they don't want to have the scrutiny that comes with whiteness, but they love the power and
100%.
privilege.
Yeah, 100%. Like, my family, actually, like, I have to stop a lot of them from. They do a lot of tendencies and tendencies to like go over the border of being racial or like these stigmas or everything, and I'm just like, you can't do that. Like, you can't do that. And especially my grandmother, I love her to death, but I have to stop her from saying things that could possibly, like, I'm just like, you can't say that. Like, that's not okay to say now. Like, try to culturally appropriate her and like be like, yo, that's not okay. You can't do that. And she's like, well, I'm just like, no, Granny, you can't do that. It's not okay. Like, it's not okay.
Does it get past the you can't say it? Because I can imagine that sometimes when you tell people you can't say that, the problem shouldn't just end at you can't say it, don't say it out loud. It should go to, this is why that is a problem. And how difficult do you find it to get to that point where you're actually teaching somebody why this is a problem? Not that you just can't say it. So there's people who, like, we know you just can't say the N word. You can't say it. But why do you want to say it? Like, how do you get to how hard do you find it to have those conversations with your white family who are saying problematic things, but get them to understand why it's not okay?
Well, it's not necessarily hard because I'm very independent and I'm just very deep within my morals and morals of like, everyone's equal. It doesn't matter whether you're black, brown, white, green, yellow. It doesn't matter. You're a unicorn. You want to be a unicorn, you can be a unicorn. Like, it doesn't matter to me. And I think that because of like the time era of where she grew up and how she was brought up, I think she was taught at such a young age that there's a lot of things that she needs to unlearn. And I think with having more conversations about just about racism, and especially because she's a bailiff and in Dallas, and there's a lot of things that go on in the department that a lot of people don't know about it. For instance, like during BLM, there was, I think, a horse that got like knocked over or got injured or something, and there's just a lot of issues that they need to work on, and she's just so tired of it now. And I think with her being tired of it, I think she's able to knock down some barriers of the fact that some things that she has said that that what I talked to her about, like it's just like not okay anymore. And the fact that I'm teaching her these things and these overcoming these barriers and reteaching her these new lessons, I think she's able to get a clearer picture, but no one has pushed her the way that I have pushed her.
Okay, I think that's important, and also important that even like the conversation about like the color blindness of, I don't care if you're purple, red, green, even that is kind of antiquated. And when we're talking about race, because it almost, color blindness can be a problem because it's almost like saying like I don't see color, and I don't see race, but we actually do. And it's actually okay to see race and see color. It's okay to see that I have on this fuchsia. It's okay to see that I'm a light complected Black person. It's okay to see that somebody is dark complexion. It's okay to see those colors. But what is not okay is to judge or make false assumptions about people because of their color. And so we have to make sure that we are we are doing our due diligence, even with people who may be further back on that journey. We may be further ahead than they are, but we also got to make sure that we're not feeling almost like self-righteous, or like we don't have a place to learn. Because even myself, I'm always dismantling anti-Blackness in me. And so everybody is on a spectrum when it's time to learn how to unlearn, and how those nuances happen even within us. So your grandmother may be far further back than you when it comes to being on that journey, but don't forget that you were still working in that process too.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of things to learn, for sure. I'm always like, I'm trying to get my wording right, and always trying to make sure that I don't want to say something wrong, because I love everybody, and I don't want somebody to get hurt with something that I say in a wrong way, and it be taken negatively.
Right. And I think accountability, when we do something wrong, is not, it's just understanding that it's a constant journey, and understanding that, I'm going to constantly be learning. I'm just going to get better. It's not that I'm not going to never make mistakes. It's just that the mistakes are going to happen less and less because I am learning. It's the people 100%. That I hate is the people who every time they do something wrong, the same thing. It's kind of like, we both trans, right? So in that it's like the pronoun thing. You keep saying the wrong pronouns, and you're not getting better at your frequency and saying the right ones.
I had a guy on my teammate, a teammate of mine in high school, and he was actually a part of, in the segment in the documentary of Changing the Game. His name was Johnny, and he continued to use my pronouns in the wrong way. And I'm just like, dude, I told these guys to come to you because I trusted you. And I hope that you probably would have been able to learn the fact to be able to use my pronouns right. And every time we talk, like, I still see him. I saw him this summer, and, we were drilling and everything. But it's like, have you learned, and have you developed as a person to be able to culturally appropriate yourself, to be a better version of yourself, to not only just for yourself, but also for others?
So I didn't introduce you because we got into the conversation. So this is one of the stars of the new Hulu documentary, Changing the Game, Mack Beggs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were introduced to Mack in 2017. He was in high school, and he transitioned to high school. He had the support of his family, a few of them, and he started on his medical transition. And in that transition, he also was an athlete. He was a wrestler. And so being in Texas, we live in Texas, being in Texas.
Good old Texas. Yeehaw.
Ooh. So they were like, you know what? This ain't how we do it in Texas. If you gonna transition, honey, you gonna have to, because if we believe you are whatever you are on your birth certificate, you have to fight with the girls. We don't care about that trans stuff. You were born a girl, you gonna always be a girl, so you gotta fight with the girls.
It's ridiculous. Stupid. You know what's crazy? It's the fact that what gets me is girls are still able to compete against the guys, but and at the time only in Greco, which is upper body. How and so like okay, so there's three styles in wrestling. There's freestyle, Greco, and folk style, which folk style is for the competitive season in high school, which is UIL organization, and then Greco and freestyle is run by USA Wrestling. And so USA Wrestling only allowed girls to compete against guys unless it was in Greco, which is upper body, which freestyle is lower body and upper body. Tell me how that makes any sense to where if you're going to allow a female to compete, it would be upper body strength. Texas.
Sometimes this shit don't make sense. Sometimes this shit don't make sense to me, and especially me who ain't into sports or nothing. It really don't make sense. But even the small logic. So for me, and that's something you got to explain to me. So looking at you, when I look at pictures of you during that time, I was like, this looks like a guy. He's transitioning. He's doing his thing. And so
I always look like that.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, why? And then I was thinking, well, if he's on testosterone, wouldn't that being on hormones be considered some kind of or drug or some type of performance enhancement kind of thing? Wouldn't that be? That would be something that I would think that they were unfair. But what I learned in researching and knowing about the case, that they did try to file a lawsuit against you to stop you from actually even participating because they felt like it was unfair. How did that actually play out, and why didn't they consider it unfair even though you were on hormones?
This was what actually happened. So the lawyer that actually filed the lawsuit against me was actually an ex coach of mine that when I competed on the national team, on the females national team, I was already like a badass, like going into wrestling. And I wrestled his daughter every time at regionals, and I would always beat her. I think that also has something to stem with the fact that why he wanted to stop me so bad was because I was like barring him and his daughter from like, he was like one of those dads, like those like sports dads that was like, like I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that my son daughter like does like whatever I can to try to make sure they succeed. And he filed a lawsuit against me, and before all this even happened, before I even started like my testosterone treatment, I started socially transitioning when I was in 8th grade, 7th grade. So when I went to meets, like I had like blue hair, purple hair, like I was definitely look queer. So like it was, and everybody knew that I was trans. All the kids knew that I was. Everybody in the locker room. I even finally came out to my coach 9th grade year. It was like a couple months into the season. I was like, all right, I gotta tell him because there's no way that he's not gonna know. And I went to my doctor. I was like, I want to start medical treatment, but I don't want to feel like I have an advantage over my opponents because I know the law is not going to change anytime soon. So I don't want there to be discrepancies because I always make sure that I always look after other people rather than myself. Back then I make sure that everyone's safe. And I told my doctor, I was like, what's the dosage that I can take to make myself feel like I'm kind of getting something and making sure like mentally I'm okay up here, that I know that I'm still like transitioning, even though it's going to be like 4 years from now. But you know, what does that look like? And she put me on the dosage. We got in contact with UIL. Their steroid list has a ratio under the rules, and I was under the ratio, and I was still in the ranges of a female cis opponent, of a cis woman. Everyone doesn't know
Even
that. Everyone didn't know that.
even with your hormones.
Yeah, I was even on a hormone blocker at the same time.
Gotcha.
And I was just like, I don't know what's happening. Like I wanted to just like tell when everything started blowing up, I was like, I'm so angry. Like I'm so frustrated. Like I feel like all this work that I'm doing in my sport is just being discredited. But I also feel like I'm not even winning at the same time because I'm competing against females. But like I don't want to feel like I'm not doing this for nothing. There has to be some gratification. There has to be some light at the end of the tunnel for me to feel like I'm still competing and still being able to get the best version of myself while all this is happening.
So
And
you were winning before the testosterone. That's why
oh yeah.
Like, oh boy was having a problem because you was beating his daughter, period.
Yeah,
So,
I was a badass. I'm telling you. I did pole vault, I did soccer, I did track, I did cross country. Like I was a overall. I guess you call me an all around athlete.
so initially he was just trying to stop you, period, from playing. It wasn't just about forcing you to stay playing against girls. It actually initially started for you not to be competing, period.
Yeah, he didn't want me wrestling at all. Like he didn't want me competing. He was like, if he's gonna be taking, or if she is going to be taking steroids or hormonal therapy, then they don't need to be competing at all. And I was like, what? I was like, I've been competing against females all my life. And this is actually a really sad story. I actually had a girl that the parents and the coaches, and this was on the team, the same team that the lawyers, the coaches slash lawyers' daughter was on. They stopped her from going against me, and she had tears in her eyes because she could not compete. I was like, I went up to her afterwards. I was like, I have no words. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to keep competing and I just want to stop. I just, from you watching you right now, just makes me want to stop and throw away, just walk out of this building. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm so sorry. Like, that's all I can say is I'm so sorry. And I don't know I'm so sorry these coaches are doing this. I'm so sorry your parents don't see me for what is happening. Like, I don't know what to say. And I'm just so sorry. She's like, it's not your fault. And I was like,
idealistically, you would have been wanting to play with the guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I was even wrestling against guys my freshman year. I told my coach, I was like, I want to be in Greco. I was one of the first female competitors on my team to compete against the guys. And actually one of the first ones, except for Alex Lyles, which Alex Lyles is a complete badass. I would always wrestle her. She made like the US team. Yeah, she's awesome. She wrestled against the guys in Greco too, but it was just basically me and her my freshman year, and I was just like, "This is fun." I was like, "It's really no different."
When I heard about it, it was strange to me because in my high school, one of my cousin, her name is Kiki Wyatt. She's like a famous singer now. She wrestled against the boys. She was a wrestler. So it was so strange to me where I was like, girls wrestled against boys in my high school. I had a girl named Tara when I was a freshman. She was a senior. She was on the varsity football player team. She was on the varsity team playing football.
Yes.
And she wasn't even trans, but she was just a regular stud lesbian. And she was like, I want to play, and they let her play, and she was good enough to be on the varsity team. And so when they were making this kind of stuff, I was like, they haven't been playing across. I just thought it was the norm across the country. Not norm like, oh my God, every girl is playing that. No, I knew it was groundbreaking, but I didn't experience them like having any pushback against it. Then when we see Tonette Harris, that is literally the first cis woman to get a football scholarship. They don't seem like they are having any kind of pushback. And it feels like when I ran across your case, it feels like it is the transphobia that made everybody so angry.
it is a transphobia because there was actually a girl who went to nationals, which is going to nationals in high school is a huge thing. And she was in the 106 pound, um, what is it? What's the older version for to being in a she was in basically like the oldest age group in the boys division at nationals in the 106 pound division and won it.
Wow.
That's I know I still get goosebumps thinking about it, because I'm just like, this like can be used in an argument for like just anything. It's just like, it doesn't matter whether you're a girl or a boy, like as long as you put in the work and you put in the effort, like you can do anything. Your body, like this body is a shell. I'm always like, yo, this body is a shell. Your mind and energy will last forever.
And this was
And
before you played, or this is after?
this was after. This was actually, I think, last year, a year and a
Wow.
half ago. Yeah, and I
And
even
was
had a
no kind of hoopla about her playing against the boys.
no, everyone was just like, go for her. Like, yes, like go, like snap, crackle, pop. Like, and I'm just like, dude, good for her, but like, what the fuck for me? Like, and I mean, I'm not trying to discredit or anything like that, but like, it's kind of like, it just stems right back to that transphobia. It's like, and especially at the time, like when my story blew up, it was the fact that everyone's trying to twist it and just be like, steroids this and steroids that. I'm just like, bro, you don't even know the story. And like my family was just trying to shield me from all of it, and I was just like, I just want to tell my story. Like I just want to say what was actually going on. And every time I would say what was going on, the Dallas Morning News actually did a pretty good job of covering my story in a decent way at the time, but everybody else would just twist it. And I'm just like, oh, I was so frustrated. I was like, what is happening right now? Like, are y'all trying to use me for a political agenda?
Of
Are y'all trying to
course,
use me
they
for,
are.
yeah, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I was like, I don't want to talk to any of y'all.
And the thing about it is, what I loved in that moment, I would watch videos of you playing, because you actually won 2 years in a row. You was a champ for 2 years in a row. And so, some of the pictures, you would see you winning, and you like, and your face would be like, duh. It would be like a moment of like, of course I'm gonna win.
Dude,
But what
that
when I see you in the videos, you could literally hear people in the crowd booing. You can literally hear people in the crowd just like being fucking assholes and all that kind of stuff. And what I loved is how you didn't lose focus. Your face was like, I'm here to play, I'm here to do my job, and I don't give a fuck what the fuck y'all talking about. Y'all can boo all the fuck you want. I won. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, if y'all want me to fucking play against the boys, talk to them motherfuckers and let me play against the boys, because that's what I want to do anyway. But as long as they force me here, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna play the game because I'm an athlete, and that's what I'm gonna do. And so for me,
that's what my coach instilled in me. He was like, and this dude is like 6 foot, like ex-Marine from a small town in Ohio. Like, bro, like you don't mess with this dude. And so he was like, you know what? They don't want to put you in the boys? Kick ass. I was like,
yeah. So tell me how, on a social level, what were you going through in the moment? Like, cause this is high school. I remember how hectic I transitioned in high school too, right in the summer before. And I remember how hectic high school could be. So socially, while this all was going on, you are catapulted into like a national celebrity. And people on the news are talking about you, Dale. What was the old white man with the white hair? Dale something. It's some
it's
news.
definitely Dale something.
Yeah, Hoffman or something like that. I can't remember. But he's like a news reporter, and he was saying such good things about you. He always, even though he's an older white man, he's always on the right side to me when he's talking. And so he did a viral thing about you, and you get what I'm saying? You are catapulted into the stratosphere of being like a mini celebrity when it comes to your case. How did that affect you socially at school?
For me personally, just like of how I was as a person, I'm very secluded. I keep like my safe space. I had a safe space, and like I was always iffy on who I let in my circle anyway, just because I am trans and I don't want people to exploit me in ways that make me vulnerable. And basically the only peers that I had that I would talk to was like the number on my hand. And there would be so many people who'd reach out to me. And it's kind of crazy to me now because the people that would kind of avoid me in high school and wouldn't really talk to me, like reach out to me now. And I'm just like, why are you reaching out to me now? You didn't reach out to me then. Like, are you proud of me now because like I'm, not like on another level on like where y'all are not at it right now? Because just like how high school is, like, you got your jocks, you got, the girls that are like always hanging out with the jocks. And it's just kind of like, oh, they're gonna be something. And it's like I have a different perspective now in a sense that if you don't really just take away of what really life is and what you're trying to work for. And I had my teachers always told me this: what do you want to be in life? And I really had to dive deep into what that meant, in the sense that I need to protect myself in ways that nobody else is thinking about, like in ways of, what if I do this, what's going to happen? Like if I do something, like, do I have to look over my shoulder? Like I always had to look over my shoulder, especially in the locker room, because I was always scared that, especially when new girls came in and every year, and I was like, there's going to be this conversation of like, oh, why is a guy in a locker room? Why is a guy in the girls' locker room? Because my coach was like, I mean, if you don't want to change the girls' locker room, you really can't go to the guys. But because that was just the rules in my school. It was like you could use the teachers. I was like, I'm not gonna use in the damn teachers' locker room. Like, what the fuck? I was like, that's not how it should be. I'll just change with the girls and hopefully they accept me. I'm just like, they already accept me now. So like, I mean, I don't think it'd be any different unless a girl really had a problem with it. But like I just really kept my circle close. I really focused on my studies. And I it was really tough. Just from being shielded from it all. And it took a long time for me to wrap my head around the fact that I have a platform now and I have a voice that can be heard. And I was always scared that, with me being like the dork that I am, and I'm really like dorkishly intelligent. That's what I like to use. In a sense that like I'm able to break things down further, in a sense that people are like, oh, well, wow, I never looked at it that way. And people are always shocked with what I have to say. And I'm just like, dude, I've gone through experiences that you're probably never going to have to endure. And that's okay. And I think that's just from being trans and just living and breathing queerness and having to go through a really Catholic sense of like sense of family. And I was just really scared all my life, and I just didn't want to be scared anymore. And wrestling really brought that out. I was like, I don't want to be scared anymore. I just want to do what I have to do, get out of high school and do the things that I have to do.
So that brings me to my next question. You are now almost graduating college student. It's finally almost over, right? So that's
Yes,
exciting.
ma'am. It is exciting. I love college, but I hate college. Like, honestly, I would rather go back to high school, because I would rather deal with the high school drama than rather deal with like the God, it's on another. It's like real life hits teenagers like that hasn't grown up yet, and it's like you just gave them like a candy bar. No, you gave them 10 candy bars to eat at a time, and now they're like on crack. Like
a shift that happened was, in college you got to compete with the guys.
mm-hmm.
Tell me, how excited were you when you finally got to be where you wanted to be? Being affirmed in your career as an athlete. How did that feel, and tell me what the results were?
It definitely was nerve-wracking at first, just in the sense that my first time competing with the guys was going to be like on a team that was relatively pretty good, like for my first time. And this was how like the team was just like for this year, for my freshman year. Ever since then it was like kind of smaller, but when I first got there my freshman year, there was like over 100 guys on the team. I got there and I was nerve-wracked. I was like, dude, these guys are huge. Like, oh my God, like, what did I get myself into? First of all. Second, like, am I gonna be like, I was doubting myself. I was like, am I gonna be able to do this? Like, and I was like, nah, bro, like, that's not who you are. Like, you gotta like step it up. Like, you gotta like bring it. Like, you gotta bring it to the plate. And like, my coach was behind my back 100%, like, no matter what. It was hard. And I was like doubting myself. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I was like, I don't care. There's no turning back now. As soon as I stepped on that first, as soon as I stepped on the mat, I was like, there's no turning back. I was like, this is it. And then after like we started going through the practice, and I was like, all right, this is cool. I was like, this is nice. Like, this is an atmosphere that I want to be in, because it was like everyone's on an elite level where I need to be. Because then like in high school, it was like you got like the team captains, and like you got your top 4 or 5 guys like in the room, and it's like, you got like that little group that you keep around. And even then, like, I felt like I was the oddball with like being one of the elite athletes in the room. And when I got there, it was like we all had a common goal. We all had the idea to be a champion. We all had the wants and needs to just not succeed on the mat, but also succeed in the classroom. And it gave me a due perspective of like everyone has their life that they're living differently. Just because I'm trans, it doesn't mean that everyone has their own hardships. Everyone's here for a reason, no matter where their backgrounds that they can't come from. And I was like, I'm just work hard. I was like, I'm gonna just be a badass, and I'm just gonna work hard. And it was awesome. Like, first practice, like, we did sprints, and my coach was like, nice, man. And he always calls me Mack Truck. Yeah, like that first practice, he was like Mack Truck, and I was like, hey. And I was like 1 month post-op from top surgery, and that was such a bad idea. Such a bad idea.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done it, but me as the person that I am, I was like, I cannot stop like competing right now. I can't stop. Like, my body was like on go mode, and it really hurt me. It really hurt me. I wish that I would have taken slower, but
So how was the experience with the documentary? The documentary features you and the Black girls that were running in the track and field arena in Connecticut, and some other athletes across the country. How did that experience come to be, and how did you like it?
it was really fun. Mikey B, which is a director, he made it a very comfortable atmosphere, and that's what I loved. He made sure that my safety wasn't compromised, and that I was always felt secure, and that if I felt like that was being pushed too much in a sense, because like during the last scene of changing the game, when I was wrestling the guys, and during that practice, I was hurting so much from my top surgery. Like, my top surgery was like, I was on fire. And like my coach was like, dude, come on, bro. Like, it's gonna be a dope shot. And my Mikey B was like, it's gonna be a dope shot. And I was like, I guess, bro. They came to me my junior year in high school, and we talked for a full year up to my senior year. And we kind of filmed like a little before my senior year, but mostly we just talked and just talked logistics. Like, is this gonna be something? Where's the funding going to come from? How are we going to promote this? And what does it look like in perspective of, if we do put this funding in, is it going to, where do we want it to touch? Who do we want it to touch? And I was like, I want it to touch not only just the LGBT community, I want it to touch everybody. And I feel like the film does a wonderful job of not just hitting like, the spots of what it means to be trans, but also what it means to be a person, and a person to live in their truth. And especially to have a family that loves you, and that love goes a long way in so many ways.
So how did you feel about this uptick in the political arena of anti-trans legislation, and particularly anti-trans legislation that was criminalizing parents who support their children? How did that make you feel now that you are older, kind of more in charge of your life? Your family support is still important, but it was definitely more important in high school, in the sense of what you were going through in the moment. You're a little bit more independent now. So how do you feel about, this kind of attack on trans people in the political arena, particularly around like parents?
It fires me up. Like, I am in go mode right now. Like, I just got done with talking with one of somebody from HRC, Human Rights Campaign. And he was like, I hope you don't have to feel like you need to learn everything about what is going on right now. And I was like, but I want to, because I feel so powerful right now, in the sense that I want to know everything that there is to make sure that these kids don't go through what I went through. And what I went through isn't going to be comparable to what these kids are going to feel and what they're going to go through. And had that conversation with their coach, and their coach sits them down and be like, you can't compete anymore. Like, ooh, I'm just getting goosebumps about it. Like, like I can only imagine how that would feel. And I don't want that to happen. Like, I don't. It hurts my heart. Like, it breaks my heart. Like, I feel so much compassion for just sports in general, and I feel like it does go a long way with developing you as a person. And to have that taken away because somebody doesn't understand what a kid is going through or who they are as a person, because you want to judge them based off who they are, no. And you want to check them, like, what is going on? Are we going back to the 1960s in the Olympics? Like, not happening. Like, that's crazy.
There seems to be an uptick in young white folks seeming to be more interested in politics. Traditionally, older white people are the one who would be going to the polls, but with Gen Z and the younger generation, it just feels like they are way more political than usual. It reminds me of the politics of the 60s around the Vietnam War era, civil rights era. It just seems like because of what's going on, young white people are kind of getting more galvanized in picking a side, and whether that's a bad side or the good side. Why do you think Gen Z are more political?
I think it's just because of the fact that we do have a voice, we do have power with our voice. And I've seen this just like from me just being in high school. Like, there's there's been like a switch in how kids are able to develop now. We have this, I think technology has a huge part, is a part of why um, kids are able to develop as fast as they are and be able to engulf so much information as they are. That's dangerous, but also a good thing, because we've been taught so much, especially in politics, that if we are to get things done, we need somebody with so much experience. What an older person has so much experience? Why not somebody who is old and white? Like, why can't they just have the final say because they've been through this so much? Like, no, that's not the case. It's what you learn. It's what your experiences are. And just because you experience this, and that throughout a lifetime, it doesn't mean that you can't experience and learn so much in a short period of time. How
I
much
know
effort
some
you put into it.
particularly older white people that haven't experienced any kind of nothing. And that don't mean that they have any analysis when it comes to gender. That don't mean they have any kind of a critical analysis when it comes to race. Definitely don't have that. Definitely don't have any critical analysis when it comes to class issues, all that kind of stuff. So you are totally right. Age has nothing to do with whether or not you can lead people in the right direction, into a progressive direction when it comes to what people need, because it's really definitely, like you said, about experiences.
Yeah, 100%. I think just with what we have now, with what the world has, with especially talking about these social institutions that we're having to flip the switch now, just with like uh, racism and and being able to knock down transphobia, like, and making sure that the LGBTQ community is able to thrive in a world that is accepting, and especially Black people and brown people. Like, I feel for y'all, because I'm just like, man, I wish that didn't happen. Like, I'm just like, why can't we just live in a peaceful world of peace, love, and prosperity, and just like sing kumbaya? But like, that's not realistic. And I'm just like, we need to take these steps in order to be able to educate in ways that we can be progressive. Because if we're not going to be progressive, the world is going to fall apart. And I think a lot of people miss the mark on that. The world is coming to an end. I think that it's coming to an end of, in the sense that we are throwing away the old ways of what it was, and change is happening, and people are scared of that. And that's okay to be scared, but it's not okay to put down people for who they are as a person and as an individual. We need to progress in a way that is full of love and understanding and acceptance, and being able to thrive off of each other, and being able to build off of, for instance, like my girlfriend, like she knows how to work on cars. I don't know how to work on cars. Like, we need people like that in this world who know how to work on cars. Like, I mean, that's just like on a micro level of like, we need to feed off of each other in positive ways.
So tell me this: you transition into a new stratosphere when you transition into a white man, and so particularly in relation to privilege and power. And we know that you could use that for good or bad as you get older. And so can you tell me what are some things that you're doing in your own life and in your own personal journey to dismantle like sexism, racism, and classism and stuff like that? What are you working on in you so that you can be an ally to the people that you were just discussing? What are you doing to kind of dismantle those things in yourself and to kind of go forward in that progressive manner?
Yeah. Well, for instance, like when I was living back with some roommates a couple months ago, she had this book about like dismantling the white man, or being able to talk about issues of racism. We would read it and we would talk about it and we would have conversations. Especially my friend Shay. She's my first Black friend that I've ever had, and I love her to death. And me and her mom and her sister, she was actually we wrestled together on my team, and we always have conversations, and important conversations of how I can use my power for good, and what are ways that I can take these steps in a right direction. That way I don't have to say something negative. I don't have to making sure that my words don't get twisted in a way. And because if I say the wrong thing, then fuck, like I'm a celebrity now. I hate using that word, man. Wish I wasn't a celebrity. But like, I have a platform and I need to use it in a positive way, and I need to be able to educate myself on these things. And so like, just like how we have conversations about you know, trans people, we changing the narrative. And that's what we talk about all the time, especially when I go visit. I try to read on books, on is it audio?
Audible.
The Audible. There we go. But yeah, and conversations, like, I find it weird in myself that, yes, I am a man, but I also am a female. So when I'm talking to my girlfriend, like, there's things that she points out to me that is like, you can't do that. Like, it makes you seem like, you're like kind of like an alpha male. And I'm just like, oh, but I don't want to do that. So what can I do to fix that? And she's like, just don't do it. And I'm just like, okay, I can do that.
I think that's an interesting point, and I've made this point on my show before. I am a trans woman. I'm a woman all day. I'm going to be a woman till I die. But I consider myself, I have male genes, so I consider myself, I was born a male. I'm not a man, but I know I'm not in any delusions of that. I don't have female DNA. I don't have I know when I was born what I was, and I know and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of the journey that I've been on. That doesn't undermine my womanhood or who you see before you today. There's nothing that is
It's like
Go ahead.
it's like in a sense that you know where you came from, and it's almost like I forget that. It's like, and I feel like it's the Aries in me. And I don't know if like you're really into astrology or anything, but like, yeah, with being very assertive and how I talk, people sometimes take that in a sense to where like I'm being very authoritative in a negative way. And sometimes they take that the wrong way, and especially women. Actually, the people that I was living with, they were lesbians, like hardcore lesbians. And with how I talked and how I asserted myself, especially with like being a dominant male in a sense, they took that in a very negative way. And I was like, no. I'm just like, I like talking things out. Like I love like just like talking through problems. And they're just like, well, sometimes you just need to leave it be, and you need to say your piece, and you just, let it go. And I'm just like, it's really hard.
What I have found is that there's a balance. You gotta, as a trans person, that I'm learning that you gotta navigate tenderly with people, not tenderly. It's just something that we have to navigate, like the situation you just said. And I've been in situations like this. If you are assertive, if you were not trans and a lesbian in that situation, living with those two lesbians, and you were giving the same assertion, you were giving the same assertiveness, the difference is they're not gonna blame it on your manhood. Like it is because you're going into manhood, they're gonna be like, oh, that's you trying to get into that manhood thing.
They find me like a dirty boy.
Yeah. And so, and I've experienced that with my womanhood too, where there is some things that if I did them, you wouldn't consider them, you wouldn't make it about my womanhood. You would make it just, that's just what it is. But because I'm trans, you, like, for example, me being, particularly when it comes to the male stuff, like the man stuff. If I do something that to remind somebody, any type of aggression, any type of, like, for example, somebody was talking shit to me the other day online, and I was like, oh, well, you're in my city. Why don't you come holler at me so I can beat your ass? That's something that my mother would do. And she's not trans and she's a woman. That's something literally I've seen my mother do. And so
that's just some mama bear shit. That's
yeah,
like, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna whoop you.
Let's handle it. And so, let's get off this internet shit. Let's show me. I bet you won't say that shit you talking in my face.
You gonna catch these hands.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's something, I come from fighting ass women. And so, but because I'm trans, that person's response was like, see, I'm not going to try to fight you. I'm a real woman. Only men would come back with that kind of response. I can't, that kind of, you automatically going to try to fight people. That's only men. And that's because you're a man. That's the man coming out of you. Where what she doesn't understand is that is something that I learned from the women that I was raised by, that we don't need to talk. All this talking ain't shit. Let's thump.
Let's go.
Let's do that. So that's women who taught me to do that. Even in my younger years, when I would be bullied, my mother would literally say, I'd much rather you come home with your ass beat than you running home after people bullying you, because they're going to continue to bully you. Bust their head. You bust one person head and the rest of them will know that you bust heads, and it will stop.
Dude, that's why I had to leave my roommate.
My mama told me that, and it's something that has worked all my life. When you check one person, and it may not be violence, but when you check at the office, at anywhere, when you check that one person to let them know you can't talk to me any kind of way, you can't do me any kind of way, that warns everybody else that that's somebody you can't fuck with. And it's not about me being a male. It's about me being assertive, like the women in my family taught me to be.
I can name a situation. For instance, I had a ex-friend of mine. His name is Freddie, and he thought that it would be okay because I called him a little bitch. I was like, bro, you're being a little bitch right now, like with being like how you acting. He was like, you don't even got a penis, so what's you talking? I was like, what? Hold up, that stems deeper into what you just said to me. What did you say again? And he was like, you got a dick. You can't say that to me. I was like, so you're now trying to be transphobic now because I called you a little bitch? He's like, it's the same thing. I was like, no, I think we both know that don't mean the same thing, like at all. I think that's gonna hurt me a lot more than me calling you a little bitch. Like you just call me a little bitch back. Like why can't you just call me a little bitch back? Like why you gotta like take it deeper? Like it ain't like that. Like what you doing?
That is an interesting point too, because I remember I have only engaged in early dating relationship with a trans guy. Never had sex with him, never had, but just the early stages of, oh, we talking and get to know each other. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
And this is why. So while we're talking, he is one of the things that I hate that guys do is try to say what I'm telling them is, oh, that's because you're a woman. You don't understand it from a guy's point of view. I hate that shit. I don't need to be exactly you to understand things. There's a lot of things that I don't experience myself, but because I see them and I hear them from other people, that I understand why they did what they did or why they do what they do. I understand it. I don't need to be you or be a guy to understand things. And when you're saying something fucking sexist or stupid, or you're saying something that doesn't make sense, I'm not the kind of girl that's just gonna let you keep saying stupid stuff. I'm gonna say, no, that doesn't make sense. Actually, this, and this. And what guys sometimes do is say, oh, you think you know everything. Oh, you think, no, I'm sitting here I'm sitting here pulling out references and sending you links and proving.
You like, I got receipts, like read these right now.
I'm proving to you my point. I'm not just saying what it's not about me knowing everything, but what we're talking about right now, I know. And educating. Right. And so I'm telling you what I know because we're having a discussion and you're saying something that I know is not true. And so I'm telling you, and then now you're trying to make me feel guilty about knowing something, make me feel like, oh, I shouldn't know. And some girls would be like, oh, am I doing too much? Am I not being feminine enough? I'm not that person that's going to think like that. And so when you get sensitive, I said to him, oh, you're acting like a bitch. And it wasn't about me emasculating him or undermining his transness or undermining his manhood. It had nothing to do with his transness or I would have said that to a cisgender guy if he said to me.
It's like how your lingo is. It's just how your lingo is. How
right.
you taught and
like,
how you
acting like a bitch.
up.
I would have said that to anybody.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that. And
but he took it as I was emasculating him. He said that that's not something that I should say to him because I know that he's trans and the gender thing is sensitive and blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, this means that we can't date. I definitely want to go back to to your response about what are you doing in your own life as far as dismantling white supremacy and and sexism and misogyny and patriarchy and all that kind of stuff. I think one of the things that is a lot of times missing from guys when they want to do the right thing, understand that wherever you have power, that is where you can be the most effective, not just on an individual level. It's not just about you wanting to separate yourself from the asshole guys, understanding that you are a part of that culture and that you actually have the power to get in there when there's locker room talk happening, to nip it in the butt and say, no, we're not going to have this type of conversation while I'm here. And we're going to sit here and make sure that y'all know that this is not okay. This is not the kind of conversation that I'm going to accept within those circle of men, but also on a systematic level, not just on an individual level, but on a systematic level. When you get into your career, when you get into your workforce, when you get into, I know we've talked, so you're going to end up being a therapist. You're going to end up being something in the realm of social work. When you get into that system, how are you actually, I'm not asking this question. I want you to consider this when you get into your career. How are you actually promoting a different kind of change in the structure and the policies at your job, at your work, in your business? If you're at a school, how are you actually thinking outside of the box when it comes to getting the people who are the most marginalized, who are Black and brown, who are women, who are disabled, who don't have the privileges that you have? How are you looking outside of the box and creating less barriers or breaking barriers down and bringing them into whatever benefit that you have access to get them? One of the things that I always tell white people when I'm talking to them, because some, I don't always be teaching white people. I feel like it's on y'all, but in certain
No, it
moments,
is on us, girl.
yeah,
Say it again.
when I'm asked for my suggestions, and I, I'm in the mood to give suggestion, I always want to make sure that, because a lot of people like to focus on their individual journey. Well, I want to make sure that I don't want, they're almost like they're separating themselves from like, that's the bad apples. I'm a different kind of apple. Great, you can be different, but we all are on a spectrum of where we are in our journey to dismantling these systems. And I don't want people to leave out what they can do on a structural, systematic level, because that is the part that really, really needs to change. You can be colorblind, you can be anti-racist, you can be everything on an individual level, and that's amazing. But if you're not helping us change the structure and the systematic issues and creating policies, then you are actually not doing the work that you need to be doing that undoes the system. So make sure that when you are thinking about how you are dismantling these systems, you take it, of course you work it on an individual level, but you also take it to that next level, which would be the systematic stuff. So I just wanted to say that, just so you know.
I'm trying to work on it, girl. Trust me. I'm all about love. I'm all about acceptance. I'm all about getting out those bad apples and telling those bad apples, hey, you gotta become a good apple, because if you don't become a good apple, you ain't getting with it, bro.
Yeah,
You
it's
ain't with
definitely
it.
on the people. It's definitely on the people. And because we are beginning a new friendship, I don't mind us talking about it. All Black people ain't like that. All trans people ain't like that. All women ain't like that. Some of them like, we not here to teach you or da. But because we are friends, and we can have those kind of conversations. And so I'm always open to have those kind of conversations. So what is next? What is next for you? What are you seeing is going to come from this film? What projects do you have looking forward to? What's the next chapter of Mack's life?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a clothing line starting up. I'm also trying to work on my pro route of being an athlete in mixed martial arts. I'm also trying to become a gender therapist. So I got a lot of things going on. Like I'm trying to joggle and toggle and everything. ADHD. Mine is just kind of like you start a project and then like you kind of stop it, and then like funding, and then it's just like, okay, then you gotta think of another idea to do. How are you gonna promote this, and then you gotta promote that? And I'm just like, I got so many ideas. Like my mind is like 110 miles an hour right now. And I'm also trying to make sure that I get resources for parents and kids, so when kids ask me if they need somewhere to go, like if they have nowhere to go, like I have these resources for them. And especially parents, like parents are always asking me for resources, and I want to be able to give them the resources in a positive way, in a good atmosphere, safe atmosphere, and be able to promote just my community and also my brand. Because I'm also like, my family has come from like, we struggle a lot. We definitely have struggled. I'm the first kid to actually go off to college. I got a lot riding for me. I got a lot to prove to not just the world, but also to my family. So I can take a lot of pride in that, of like being the first to like just do everything. I just got big plans. I got big plans, Diamond. I swear, like you ain't ready. The world ain't ready for Mack, yo.
Well, I want you to keep doing what you're doing. You in that moment in high school when I first was introduced to you, it was a proud moment. As an older trans person, who transitioned young in the '90s when we didn't have all these resources that y'all have. It always makes me feel good when I see, even if I'm disconnected to them, when I see trans people having the power to young trans people having the power to kind of just step into, like, yo, I was suing my high school to go to the prom when you were born in 1999. And so,
Get it,
you know,
girl.
to see you and win it, and to see you kind of buck up against that system and, you know, continue on and make it work. That's just kind of what we do. It's, even though I was disconnected to you, it still feel like what all of us did, all of our generations before you did, help to get that along. So it just made me proud and made me feel like, yeah, you know, this is exactly what we were fighting for. This is exactly why we do what we do. And to see
Shit
that
made me
come,
cry.
yeah, and to see that come, it just makes me feel good as an older trans person. So yeah.
Oh, you give me power. Like y'all are the reason. Like everyone that looks at, like you, Aiden, freaking all my role models. Like they give me the power to want to do better for my generation, for the future generations, because we got a lot of change, girl, and I'm so ready to be the change.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me, y'all. I'm gonna have all of Mack's link down in the bottom. Tell the people where they can find you.
You could just mainly find me on my Instagram. My Instagram is really just the main thing that I really get on nowadays. I'm really socially disconnected, but if you need to reach out to me, alpha.trans on my Instagram page. You can hit me up there. Got any questions? I'm at your disposal.
Perfect. I'll have that link in the bottom, and I thank y'all for listening. I will talk to y'all next week. Have a wonderful night.
All right. Thank you, Mama Bear.
Be good.
I will. Bye.
Bye.
Hey brother, hey brother, hey sister, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey brother.